Good afternoon, good evening, good morning. This is Ed Pisani with Business Conversations by Ed Pisani. Today I have a really special guest that's coming on to our show called Mark Ritorto. He's an author and he's just written a brand new book. I'm very excited about interviewing him and getting his experiences about this book because he is a very talented author. Welcome, Mark. How are you today?
Good. How you doing today, Ed?
Oh, I'm doing wonderful. Thank you for being on the show.
Well, it was a pleasure being here. I appreciate you having me on the show.
Oh, you're very welcome. I was curious to know a little bit about your story.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is just so everybody knows. This is my second book. It just got released. Um, Probably like I just released it about a week ago or two ago on Amazon, and it's in paperback format. And the name of the book is called Marcus the Vampire, and it's part of a new chronicle series that I'm developing called the Dark World Chronicles. And basically, it's a story about a gentleman who lived during the time of World War II. He's a gypsy, and I don't know if too many people know about this, but during the Holocaust, there were several different ethnic groups that were persecuted.
Mm-hmm.
The Jewish people being one of them, and another ethnic group was called were Gypsies or Romani people. So this character is one of those people that is unfortunately captured during World War II. And since it's obviously a fiction fantasy novel, I kind of stretched the truth a little bit. So he's able to survive the camp due to a spell that his grandmother, who just happens to be a witch, placed on him. And as a result of the spell, when he was killed, he was turned into a vampire. So the rest of the story, he's just been faced with the truth of dealing with the death of his wife, but also trying to figure out how he can protect his daughter from not only the tyranny regime of the Nazi soldiers, but also from the creatures that exist in the dark world that are after him. And obviously, in the dark world, there's several different creatures, including vampires, werewolves, and witches. So I decided to take a different approach to writing a vampire novel than the typical romance stories that you see out there, like with Twilight or Vampire Diaries.
Gotcha. So, what made you get involved in this genre of writing?
Um, well, I always like vampire stories. I'm a big fan of Anne Rice, um, as well as the television series Vampire Diaries. I haven't read the Twilight book yet. My daughters have read it; they liked it, but I've always been intrigued with like vampires, especially like I love the Vampire Diaries. In fact, me and my daughters are going to a Vampire Diaries convention next week in New Jersey to meet some of the cast members. So we're kind of excited about that. And like I said, I was always a big fan of Anne Rice, the Interview with the Vampires, the whole Vampire Chronicles, Queen of the Damned, Lestat. I always kind of liked that particular genre.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so I decided after I wrote my first book, which was an action suspense thriller called The Cabal, The Saga Begins, I kind of was interested in trying to write about something a little bit else.
Gotcha.
Uh, so to give everybody an insight, when I write books, even though they're fictional stories, I kind of write about what's going on with my life. I just fictionalize it.
Gotcha.
So, like my first book, I was dealing with a friend of mine who's suffering from cancer. So that's what that story was kind of about. Like instead of the story, I'm solving for a murder, but in real life, I'm trying to understand how someone so good could get such a deadly disease. And in this one, the person is undergoing change, and I had some changes going on in my personal life with
Mm-hmm.
issues I had to deal with. So that's how I dealt with it. Um, so that's pretty much how I came about it. In a
That's
nutshell.
that's cool. So I have a question for you. In
Yeah.
reference to like the characters, and you were saying this is an ongoing series. Is it the character that shows up in every book, or is it a group of characters that show up in some books and none of the books? Tell me a little bit about the characters.
Okay. Well, this is the first book in the series. What I'm basically doing is I'm basing the whole series around this one particular character, Marcus, and his friend Eric. And obviously, I don't want to give away too much in the book, but it has to do with his family.
Mm-hmm.
The first book is pretty much going to be an origin story. I'm saying I should clarify that it is an origin story. So it goes about how he becomes a vampire, how he meets this character named Eric, how they become friends, and how he tries to protect his daughter Christina in the book. The next one will be about what happens. It's like a continuation, but instead of the past, it's going to be in the present. But instead of his daughter, it's now going to be his granddaughter. So it's going to be a continuation of how he's going to now protect his granddaughter. Because at the end of the first book, I don't want to give it away, something happens to him.
Okay.
And then the next book continues from there. I don't want to give away too much. It's going to be a very unique story. Whereas the Cabal centers around 4 different characters, including the main detective, John Esposito. And then there's also another character, Mark Delfino, and then the women that they work with, and then they have romantic relationships with. There's several characters that can be spun off into different series as a continuation of that one.
Mm-hmm.
Especially since in that book they deal with a secret society known as the Cabal. Obviously, there's going to be a continuous repeat of them coming into their lives and how it affects them. But with this book, it's primarily just going to be Marcus. I mean, there's going to be repetitive characters, but the main focus is going to be Marcus and his friend Eric.
Mm-hmm.
And there's going to be, since you're dealing with fictional mortal characters, they can pretty much live forever. So there's going to be repeats of their nemesis that they deal with in their previous lives.
I see.
So some of them are vampires, some of them are witches, and then and some of them are other werewolves as well. But they'll continue from one series to the next.
That's cool. So, like in reference to like the nemesis, what type of imagination process did you have to sort of say this is the powers it's going to have, and this is the storyline it's going to have? Is it like an anti-hero, or is it like just straight up evil?
Well, the one nemesis that he has to do with a particular Nazi, the head of the Nazi camp.
Okay.
And he also changes and becomes immortal. But the people who read the book will find out that Marcus is not just a regular vampire. He's foreseen to be the most powerful one out there. So there's going to be people that are trying to get rid of him because they're fearful of him. There's going to be people that want him on the side to help him vanquish their enemies as well. They try to do alliances with him. There's going to be people that are looking up to him as type of a leader.
Mm-hmm.
But for the most part, the nemesis characters are the people that were involved in this particular book. One of them being a Nazi, the head of the Nazi camp. And he's always going to want to get revenge on that guy for what he did to his family, as well as to himself. And then the other character has to do with the character's moral standpoint. The other character does something or tries to do something in a particular scene in a book that Marcus doesn't like because he sees it as immoral.
Mm-hmm.
So the character does have some, I guess he still has contact with his human side for the most part. So he still has, the standard moral structure that a good human being would have.
Gotcha. So, in reference to writing the book, I know some authors, they'll actually go visit the locations they're writing about. Did you do that, or how did you research the locations the story was happening at?
Well, unfortunately, I mean, I've been to Europe before, but this particular story takes place in the areas of Europe that I've never been to. So for the parts that take place in Germany, particularly with the Nazi camps, some of the hotels that they stayed in, I've actually had to do research on the internet,
Mm-hmm.
get the names and the locations. Same thing with certain aspects of the book that take place in France. So it was pretty much a lot of online research
That's
that I had to
cool.
do. Well, I mean, obviously, I wish I did go to Europe to those particular areas to visit, but didn't work out that way.
Yeah, it's like anything else in life. It's great with Google Maps now and all the
Yep.
research you could do online with Wikipedia to find out information and really hone it down. So, being this a period piece during World War II, around that era, but it's also going to be like just an eternal type of storyline. Do you have any plans to go way in the future, or are you going to go way in the past next?
Well, the starting point up is always going to be um, World War II
Okay.
because that's when the main character um, was human before he became a vampire. Um, I don't see it going too far into the future. I might swing it because the way
Mm-hmm.
it ended in the past. It's going to continue in modern day. Um, Unless I change that part up, I could make it where it goes back to like the 80s or something. But I was thinking more because I kind of have an outline for the next book, but I haven't finished the outline. But the
Mm-hmm.
way I was foreseeing it was that it was going to go into the modern day. Um, and I haven't decided whether his daughter, who would be his granddaughter's mother, obviously, if she would be alive or passed. I haven't figured that part yet. I might throw something in a little in there. And then it will probably be a lot of parts where he's dealing with a new world order and mindset among the different tribes of vampires and within the werewolf society. It's because the people who read the book, they're going to realize that he's a vampire, but he was a vampire that was created by magic. He wasn't created in the traditional means. So that most people know how vampires get created is usually you get bit by one and you drink the blood of the guy that or woman that turns you. This he was made a little differently,
Mm-hmm.
so that's why his powers far succeed most vampires in his in the book. Um, so the fact that it's magical that can lead to other things. So he's not aware of the true vampire customs and how they go about and what their laws are. Um, in the book, he does meet a character, like one of the characters that becomes his nemesis. He does meet one particular character that tries to show him a way, but and helps him explore his powers. But since this one particular incident happens that turned him off, plus he was in a rush to find his granddaughter at the particular time. Um, so I guess in some ways it was bad because Marcus was kind of using him in a little bit of way, but
Hmm.
you got to read the book. It's
Yeah,
kind
it
of
sounds like a very, very interesting book. I know I'm going to definitely go to Amazon and check it out
yeah,
because it, like just how you're explaining it to me right now, I have a lot of folks that are in my office that really like this genre. So they're going to
yeah,
be excited to hear about it. And I'm asking questions that I think they would want to ask and find out about. And like, it's kind of interesting because I know there's a lot of authors over the course of time that have done amazing works and done multiple series of books off of something they were passionate about. Have you did you go to college to write, or is this something that you picked up later in life that you're like, I really just found my passion?
Um, I got a very interesting story for you and your listeners out there.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, my college background was business management. And yeah, I work in IT. I'm a lifelong martial artist, though I've been sidelined for the last 6 months. The way I got into writing
Mm-hmm.
was through my daughter, who at the age of 10 published 2 books.
Wow.
So she's 11 now. She just recently published her third book, which is called A Little Bit Louder, which is the second part of the series she called the Invisible Girl series.
Mm-hmm.
And how I got into it is I was helping with her first book called I Am a Survivor, which is an inspiring story about a girl who has cancer, and it talks about her struggles and how she deals with having cancer and being bullied, and she obviously conquers it all and wins everyone's heart at the end of the story. So through that whole process, when I was helping her with her book, because we was like, I noticed she always liked to write, and I was like, hey, how about, would you be interested in publishing your story into a book? And she was like, yeah, I definitely want to do it. And when I went through the process, I kind of remembered that I started a manuscript about 10 years before I even had kids,
Hmm.
which led to my first book, which was called The Cabal, The Saga Begins. So after I helped her publish her first book, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to finish this manuscript. And then I just took it from there. And we've been working hard at marketing our brand. We got like a website which is called www.ritortofamilybooks.com. That's RITORTO familybooks.com. And when you go to the website, you'll see, the book, my 2 books, and her 3 books. So it was kind of like an inspiration from her to me to be like, hey, let me give this a shot. And when I started writing my first book, I'm like, I got more ideas. So I took like an app called on my Android phone called Inkpad, and I started writing all these ideas down for different storylines. And one of them was always in the back of my mind was writing a book about within the vampire genre, because I always love that genre. I even read like books by indie authors out there.
Nice.
Even if they're just like like young adult fiction novels. Um,
Okay.
trying to think of, you know,
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with all the authors' names, so I'm not gonna try to pretend like I know them. But it's kind of cool to hear that you and your daughter have that thing that you can share, and you both have the same interest, and you're making it into like a little family enterprise. Um, what's it like working with your daughter? Do you brainstorm with her, or does she like write her book styles, and you write your book styles, or do you collaborate together at any point in time?
pretty much what she does, she focuses, which I kind of think um, every author should do, is she focuses on what she knows and what's going on in her life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and she just turns it into fiction. Like for her, um, which is kind of funny because I never realized until I read one of her books that she always felt that she was shy, because at home she's not shy at all. So apparently, I guess she was shy in school to the point that she felt that no one noticed her, and she felt invisible. Hence the book, Invisible Girl. And she goes through the whole process of how as she went on and became more sociable and started making more friends. So it deals with a lot of social issues I think a lot of young girls deal with. Bullying, being shy, being quiet,
Mm-hmm.
trying to make friends. So that's what she focuses on. What I usually do is with her, work with her mostly on the finished product. Like I proofread it. Um, I try to have her help me pick out the book covers for it. Um, and then for her, like for me, I ask her advice on certain things. Like if I have a turning point in a book, should I go this way or that way? She kind of helps me out with that. But believe it or not, on hers, for her stuff, she goes right to it. She gets into her writing mode.
Mm-hmm.
She blasts it out.
Wow. So, having like a job where you're working full time, how do you dedicate the time to do it? Do you do it in the evening? Are you more writing in the morning? Are you writing over lunch breaks? What's your style of getting into the zone?
Yeah, that I got to admit is very hard to do. I got a full-time job, 4 kids, and prior to my injury, I was very an avid Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner, and then I also uh, try to teach myself piano and guitar. So I got a very busy lifestyle. So between my kids' sports and all that, so it takes me a long time to write a book.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, what I do is once in a while I write on my lunch hour at work or whatever. A lot of times it'll be on weekends. I'll sit down, and what I usually do is I try to say, all right, I'm going to write a couple pages a day. And then when I get to the point where I feel like I'm almost done,
Mm-hmm.
then I'll be like, all right, Saturday. This time worked out pretty much because my one daughter, Christina, who's already published, then I have another daughter who's still working on a book, but it's almost done. I'm like, all right, tomorrow, Saturday or Sunday, whatever day it is, we're going to wake up and we're going to try to write for 1 or 2 hours straight. So we did that a few times. So that helped.
Nice.
So for me, it's very sporadic. It's not every day. I would say it was mostly on the weekends, sometimes on my lunch hour, but mostly on the weekends in the morning. I was in a writing schedule where I was writing at night,
Mm-hmm.
but I found that I was too tired. By the time I got done, putting the kids to bed and playing my piano and guitar, I'm like, it's 11 o'clock. I'm like, if I start typing, I'll go to sleep. So I try to do it like Saturday or Sundays as soon as I get up after I walk the dog.
Mm-hmm.
Bang out a couple of pages, But I think the main point for people who try to write books is try not to force it. I'm a little bit more of a regimen person. Like I try to say, all right, I'm gonna write like 5 pages today or whatever it is. I think the way you should write, especially if you're working full time and you got kids,
Mm-hmm.
is set some time aside and just do what you can do. Don't put a time clock on it. I mean, if you're just trying to get your first book out there really quick, then you probably may want to just stick with a short story or something,
Mm-hmm.
just to get the feel of it. But for me, I try to write whenever I have spare time and just go with the flow, and then everything else falls into place. Then, like towards the end, that's when I start writing more. That's
Nice.
because the juices are flowing.
So I have a question for you. How did your family feel about the genre you picked for the book? Were they like kind of excited? Were they like, "Oh my gosh, uh, he's kind of like he's on a topic we never thought he would choose." What was their reaction when you told them I'm writing a book about vampires and everything?
Um, well, my 2 older daughters, I don't think they were surprised at all because we watched Vampire. Like I watched it before when the series was on the air, but then when we got Netflix, I told my one daughter, she was like, "Oh, I'm not gonna watch it. It sounds stupid." After one episode, she was hooked, and we started binge watching it. Like it was during school season, so we were only to get like 1 or 2 episodes a week. But now they're hooked, and now we're meeting the cast, the main one, the main characters. We actually get pictures taken with one of the main stars of the show. So I
Nice.
don't think they are too surprised. I think my friends are a little surprised. Actually, my friends are actually surprised that I was into writing. So I don't know why, but I don't know.
It,
But for
it,
the most part, I don't think my family is. They know I like vampires. I like vampire movies. I like Blade with Wesley Snipes.
That's a great movie. Great movie. So yeah, it's interesting. I always like asking that question because I notice there's always different feedback, and it kind of gives you a more perspective of like who you are. So in reference to like future, are you going to be at any trade shows where like some fans can meet you? Or are you going to be going to any special expos or anything along that line?
Oh, actually, Tuesday, October 1st, me and my daughter are doing a book signing at a library near where we live, located at 144 Woodfield Road
Mm-hmm.
and Washington Township, New Jersey, and zip code is 07676. We'll be there at 6:30 till it closes. We'll be meeting people there, signing books, autographs. We'll have, obviously, we'll still have copies of our her second book, my first book, for sale, and then we'll have copies of our new books for sale.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we're definitely looking forward to it. It's a book signing. Again, it's Tuesday, October 1st, 6:30 p.m. at the Washington Township Library at 144 Woodfield Road, Washington Township, New Jersey, 07676. Yeah, that's where we're going to be.
Nice. Now, if there's someone that's listening today that maybe not lives or resides near New Jersey, and they want to get a signed book, is there a way for them to get a signed book from you?
Well, what they can do is they can go to my website,
Mm-hmm.
www.ritortofamilybooks.com. If they put in a request, they could fill out the contact form and put in a request. And then what I could do is send them a link
Mm-hmm.
where they can purchase the book. I'll buy it and then I'll sign it and ship it to them.
Nice.
Just so everybody else knows, like right now, our old books, they're for sale on Amazon and Barnes & Noble in paperback and obviously in Kindle format for Amazon and in audiobook format. But our hard copies are only sold on our website. But yeah, if they want I was actually thinking of putting something together. I just haven't gotten around to it where I can actually like sign books, and as people order them, like buy them and then ship them. But yeah, they can inquire on our contact page.
Okay.
And then you can say, hey, we're interested in buying a book and having it autographed, like a paperback or whatever. I could send them a link for like a PayPal payment, and this way they can send me instructions as to where to mail the book. I could order it, have it sent to my house, sign it, and send it to them. I don't have a problem with that.
Awesome. Well, Mark, thank you so much for being on the show today. This was an amazing interview. It's really cool talking to an author like yourself, and I hope to have you again on in the future to share some of your other new books that are coming out when they come out. And
Yep.
I hope you have an outstanding weekend.
You too. Thanks, Ed. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me on the show.
You're welcome. Take care.
Bye-bye.
It's really cool talking to an author like yourself, and I hope to have you again on in the future to share some of your other new books that are coming out when they come out. And
Yep.
I hope you have an outstanding weekend.